Israel and China have developed stronger economic ties in recent years as Chinese companies have become more and more interested in Israeli innovations and tech, investing millions in the startup nation. And today, any startup that wants to be truly global needs to conquer the notoriously difficult to penetrate Chinese market. And so Israeli companies too are looking east. And here to discuss the blooming Israel-China tech relationship and all its complexities is Tehila Levy Lati, a partner at ZAG SW law firm and head of the China and East Asia practice. She's accompanied dozens of startups and companies doing business in China. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, how would you characterize the Israeli-Chinese relationship in terms of tech and innovation?
I think that China looks at Israel as an innovation hub. And because the relationship between China and Israel are quite good, it's a good opportunity for Chinese companies to come to Israel and to have all kind of collaboration and investment in Israeli companies in order to bring the technology back to China. So from their point of view, I think it's like a very attractive country. And from Israeli companies' point of view, I think it could be a very interesting opportunity because China is a huge market and it's very difficult for Israeli companies to penetrate China by themselves. So then when they have the support of Chinese companies or collaboration also from the Chinese government, it helps a lot.
Now tell me a little bit about your background specifically and about ZAG, your law firm. You've been doing business in China long before it was the trend to do so.
Yeah, so I've been working in China for the last 15 years. I'm a partner in ZAG SW, which is an international law firm, and we have a practice in China. I've been living in China for 10 years, 5 years in Shanghai and almost 5 years in Chengdu, which is in Sichuan province, and it's kind of hardcore China. Mm-hmm. So I've been working in China a long time before we saw all those kind of investment. I think that we started to see all those investment in Israeli companies is just in the last 6 years. Mm-hmm. But before that, so there were like a business relationship between China and Israel, but it was mainly Israeli companies that manufactured in China, and China was mainly known as the factory of the world. Mm-hmm. But then there were a lot of changes in China that also influenced the relationship between China and Israel.
Mm-hmm. And so how has the relationship between China and Israel evolved in recent years? You know, what kind of trends are we looking at?
I think that the first major change was in 2011. There was a big reform of the Chinese government that actually said, go global. And then a lot of Chinese companies, they went global and tried to purchase all kind of companies in the US, in Australia, in Europe, in Israel, wherever they can. In Israel, we saw some, the first big investment was in Adama. Mm-hmm. And then we had also Tnuva and other big investments. So from 2011 until 2016, we saw a lot of investment coming out from China because of the Go Global policy. Mm-hmm. Then in 2016, there was a restriction regarding outbound investment from China. And since then, we see less investment, but they still want to get the technology. So we still see it's not kind of an investment, it's kind of a different structure in order to get the technology back to China, but without all the big investment as we saw. So we still see investment, but I think less than we saw before 2016 because it became more difficult to get approval to do outbound investment. And we see different structure like the JV structure or other structure of collaboration between Chinese companies and Israeli companies. Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to take a minute to talk about the growing, let's say, economic tensions between the U.S. and China. There's talk of trade wars and the like. And so how is this affecting Israeli startups or Israeli companies, if at all?
Okay, so I think it affects everyone. And I think that there are some things that actually came out from this clash that are good things. For example, 3 months ago, the Chinese government issued a new law, which called the new Foreign Investment Law. And according to this law, actually the aim of this law is kind of an answer to the trade war, because they say, okay, you claim 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the new law, and this is where China is going, and it's a good direction. It's actually opening up for foreign investment. So if until now, if you're a foreign company that wanted to set up a company in China, you were under a different law than Chinese company or Chinese individual that set up a Chinese company in China. According to this law, it will be like everybody will get the same treatment. And you will, government procurement agreement in China will be open also for foreign companies. So there are some good things that are going out from that. Other than that, I think for Israeli companies, because of the trade war and because of the tension, we see less and less Chinese companies that actually invest in the US. But they still want to invest, and they still want the technology. So then there is more free money that actually is coming to Israel.
Into Israel.
Yeah.
And so are we going to see more investments in Israeli startups in the near future?
I believe that we are going to see more and more investment, that we are going to see more and more collaboration, maybe like by JV or other collaboration, but it's for sure something that the trend will grow.
Mm-hmm. And so my final question, where do you envision the future of the Israeli-China tech relationship or investment relationship going?
I think that Israel is in a very unique stage right now, because the relationship with China is, like, from economic point of view, it's very good relationships. So the opportunity is there, and as more and more Israeli companies will go to China, and they will have a successful collaboration with the Chinese companies, and will penetrate the market quite successfully. It will be a huge opportunity for Israeli companies, because they cannot only trust like the U.S. market. They need to, in order to be global, you need also the Chinese market. So I believe that if they will have more and more collaboration, then it will be very helpful for the Israeli companies and for Israel economy.
Okay, well, Tehila, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you.